Hello and welcome to another episode of Bingefest. I am Kate Conroy, and with me is Vinnie Civitillo, as always. And today we're talking about the time traveler's wife. But first, because we totally forgot to do this last episode, we're going to talk about what we're currently binging. So, Vin, would you like to go first?
Sure. This and Shrinking and the next episode's worth, Severance is what I've been currently watching. But I
Yeah.
guess Disney put out more Daredevil, so I started watching that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm caught up. Daredevil's an interesting show because like that was a Netflix show. Like I don't know, what was that, like 10 years
A
ago,
hundred
something?
years
Yeah,
ago. It was
like a
so
long
long
time
ago.
ago. I have never seen a
Yeah.
show get rescued like that, like 10 years later.
No.
Um, and I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, I guess like is it long enough now that we call it like a reboot or a revival versus just like this is now like season four of the Netflix show? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a really
I
good
don't know.
question.
Like yeah, I don't know.
What is
But go ahead.
what is Disney calling it? Like when you go to the
It's a whole new
Disney,
show. It's Daredevil Born Again is what it's called.
oh, well then it's a reboot.
Yeah, all right. And I guess it's fair to call it like a reboot or a revival. I mean, even though it's like the same cast, but the
Is it?
yeah, I mean Foggy and Karen. Okay, so I'm gonna give a spoiler for like the first 5 minutes of the show. So like
Right.
it's not like I'm giving away the end of the show, whatever. Foggy dies in like the first 5 minutes of the show.
I
And
loved him.
I know. And
He was
I don't
great.
know whether that was like creatively driven or if just like he wasn't really available to come back for the show. I don't know. But like he gets killed off in like the first 5 minutes. And then because he dies, there's now like a rift between Daredevil and Karen. So I don't even remember what her real life name is. The one from True Blood who played like
It doesn't
the
matter.
girl. Doesn't matter. She's
She
not
was
really
such
in
a
the show either anymore. Like she was in
yeah.
the first 5 minutes. You see her like maybe like once in another
That's enough.
episode, and then that's it.
That's
But
plenty. That's
yeah,
plenty.
yeah.
She was
All
a
right,
nothing character.
sure.
I mean, really, I watched Daredevil way back in the day. And I remember really enjoying the premise. Like
Sure.
this guy is blind, right?
Yeah.
But he somehow has overcompensating senses that allow him to literally fight crime and do backflips, and like it's an interesting premise. Like
Yeah.
and what does he do in his day job? And so it was a great premise to a show. And the supporting characters like Foggy, they weren't just your average sidekicks. They were interesting.
Yeah. And Rosario
And then
Dawson's character, who I don't remember the name of at the
yes,
moment. Yeah. Vincent
I forgot all
D'Onofrio was,
about her.
yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio. Oh my
Yes.
God. And then along comes Karen, who is about as interesting as white bread.
Yeah.
I mean, the writers just completely dropped the ball on that one, unless
Yeah.
she was playing it bland. I don't
I don't
know.
know. Yeah.
Anyway,
Um,
okay, go
so
ahead.
it's interesting because now, okay, so when the show was first on Netflix, it was, I don't want to call it a hard R, but it was an R. Like, he was going around like, yeah, he was beating the shit out of people. There was blood everywhere. Like,
I don't remember that. Okay.
it was definitely supposed to be like in the Netflix Marvel shows in general, between like Punisher and Luke Cage and all them, were definitely supposed to be R-rated shows, and that's why they were separated from like the continuity of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we are advertising to 12-year-olds. But now he's on Disney Plus, so like it's not the R that the other show was. Like this, in
Right.
fact, he barely fights at all in this show. There's that first 5 minutes, he like fights the guy who kills Foggy, and after that, I mean, it's all lawyering. Like, and I mean, at the point where we're recording this, you're gonna see people are gonna see this at by the time the season is over. So I think I'm only like 4 episodes in so far, but we're getting to that point where Daredevil is going to have to be born again by the end of the season. So, um, if you're caught up on other Marvel shows, then you know that like Vincent D'Onofrio's character Kingpin is
Yeah.
now. I mean, he's not mayor at the point where the show begins. I think that's like first or second episode. But like in Echo, I muted it beforehand. In Echo, he says that he's gonna like try to run for mayor. Like that's how Echo ends. It's the preview for
Right.
this. But yeah. So now Daredevil has to, contend with the fact that like this crooked politician Oh God, it's real life. This crooked asshole is running New York. um,
Real life.
and what sucks is that Daredevil knows that Kingpin is crooked. Kingpin knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and they're both kind of in this position where they're like, if you fuck up, I'm gonna be there. Well, if you fuck up, I'm gonna be there. So like, yeah,
Mexican standoff.
yeah, sure. Well, Mexican standoff, you need a third person, right? So a
No.
Mexican standoff, the definition of a Mexican standoff in like the old Western movies was you have three people in a shootout. And like it can go any way. Like I can shoot you, you can shoot person C could shoot
What
me,
is
I could shoot both of you, like yeah.
what is just two people? What is
That's
that
just a
standoff?
standoff. I don't know.
No.
It's
So
just a
Quentin
regular
Tarantino.
shootout. That's like average duel.
Okay, okay, but in Inglorious Bastards, when they're in the basement, did you see that movie?
Yes, but it's been a long time, so I don't remember where you're
Okay.
going with this.
All right. So do you remember the bar scene in kind of the beginning? The Michael Fassbender's character goes down there undercover as a Nazi and things go sideways and Brad Pitt's team starts to come down the stairs of the basement and they've all got guns. And Brad Pitt's character says, "What we got here is a Mexican standoff. I don't trust
Well, you
you,
said
you
there
don't
was a
trust
team
me."
there, right?
Yeah, but there was just two sets of
Oh,
people.
okay. But like, yeah. All right. So how does he describe it in that? Since you were talking, like, go ahead. So I cut you off.
It's He says, "What we got here is a Mexican standoff. In order to get out of this, we all have to trust each other, maybe start to put down our guns." Who's ready to start putting down their I don't remember. Anyway, that is my understanding of a Mexican standoff is when two people are pointing
Okay.
guns at each other.
So I just Googled it, and the Google definition is when two or more parties are in a tense
Ha!
confrontation where no one can act without triggering their own demise, or suffering a loss. So I guess like if you've got a team behind you, I shoot you, your
Oh,
team shoots me, my team shoots
wait.
you, my team shoots your
Yes.
team, like we all die. So like, all right,
Wait, my doorbell just rang. Hold on a second.
all
We
right,
got to
we'll pause
pause.
the show here.
All right. Daredevil. Okay, I have a
So
question about Daredevil. Sorry.
sure, go
No,
ahead.
okay, go ahead.
No, I
No,
was
you.
just gonna say it's fine. I mean, I'm watching it. What I would say is if we were gonna resurrect any of the Netflix, shows or whatever, I would have wanted it to be Jessica Jones,
Yes.
not Daredevil.
Yes.
I mean, I enjoyed Daredevil basically back in the day, but not I don't even
It
think I
was
finished the
fine.
show. Like I think with the exception of Jessica Jones, I don't think I finished any of the Netflix Marvel shows. Like I don't think I watched the last season of Luke Cage, Iron Fist, or
Neither did I.
Daredevil.
Neither
But
did I. However, the first thing that I thought of when you said that it's just all lawyering was whether or not it was Jerry's law firm. Because Jerry was one of my favorite characters in Jessica Jones. She was the lawyer. Remember?
hold on.
Carrie Ann
I'm,
Moss was
I'm
the.
oh no, then she's not. Yeah, no, no. He has
It's a
another
bummer.
partner, and I can't remember her name at the moment, but it's another partner. It's not Karen, and it's not Carrie Ann Moss's character either. So
It's a bummer.
yeah. Um, Probably by the time people are watching this, the show will have ended or the season will have ended. But for me right now, all it is lawyering. There's like, a guy that's accused of something he didn't do, and Matt's trying to like get him off, like whatever. So yeah.
Whatever.
What are you currently
So is
binging?
it
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, is it one long story arc with a case, or is it every day there's a different every episode there's a different case
No, one long thing. It's not a
arc?
lawyering of the week kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, okay.
and they brought back the Punisher, so he's in it. And again, like if I was gonna pick, it would have been Jessica Jones, but they brought back the two of
God,
them. And I don't
somebody
know
really
that
needs to
they're
reboot
maybe
that.
not planning on bringing Jessica Jones back. I hope they are, because that was the good one. I mean, of all of them, and like I said, I didn't watch the end of the seasons of all the rest of them, but like she had a good ending. So I don't know if like you want to mess with that or not, but yeah.
No, I don't.
But then again,
Did
we
she?
don't. Yeah, that was like a this is how we want to end the show kind of an ending.
Maybe I didn't see the last season.
Of all the
Wait,
yeah, I mean, we don't know for a fact that this is still going on in the same universe that the Netflix shows did. I mean, it's being presented in a way that's like, it might as well be, but we don't know,
we
because we're
should add
messing with the
Jessica
multiverse
Jones.
stuff a lot. So, what? So this? Yeah, we could do that. I'd
Yeah,
rewatch that. Yeah.
I would totally rewatch that. 'Cause I don't remember the ending except that Patsy has powers now. Did they ever do anything with Patsy having powers?
Yeah, but
They did.
that's not what I mean when I say that's the ending. So I won't give away the ending of the show. But yes, I
Okay.
think Patsy having powers is, I want to say, the second or third season.
Wow, I totally missed it then. I didn't know that there was another. Okay.
Okay. So what are you currently binging? We'll put
I'm
Jessica
currently
Jones on the
binging,
list for another show.
yes. I'm currently binging a very old show from 2015, so like 10 years
When
ago.
you say very old show, I think like MASH. Like, because that's how far you go back, like the Love Boat and MASH. So 2015 is like nothing to me. Go
I
ahead.
know, you're right. It's nothing. It's called Togetherness, and it was an HBO show about this couple whose marriage is sort of stalled. They have a new baby, and so they're just not connecting because everybody's sleep deprived, and it's just kind of messy. And then her sister moves from Houston to where they live, and so she's messy and chaotic, and she's interfering. And the husband's best friend like gets evicted and has to start sleeping on their couch for a little while. And so there are all of these four characters are forced together because they all live in this house together with two kids, and it's just very like messy and chaotic. Like the friend has a crush on the sister, and the sister believes very strongly that she can do better than him, but he's the one who consistently shows up for her, and she keeps making bad decisions. Like it's a lot of messy, chaotic angst in this show, and I'm
Mm,
really glad that I'm almost at the end of season two, which is where it ends. And I don't know how it's going to end because it could be that they're all going to all four go their separate ways. Like the married couple reconnected at the end of season one, and now it looks like they're just on separate tracks completely. So I don't know. It's it's a good show to have on while you're dicking around on your phone. I would put it in that category since we've
okay.
created that category.
Sure. Yeah. And actually, um, I know I quote one the sitcoms argument, but I would actually tell you like I actually look at most sitcoms that way. Like, if you're just like messing around on your phone and you want to like have something
Yeah,
on in the background, a show that's like gonna make you laugh is good for that. But yeah.
it's a really good point.
Yeah. All right, so
Hmm,
as much
cool.
as I really want to talk about the time traveler's wife, I promised you three. So go ahead. What else you
Oh,
currently
no, I just said three because sometimes
you wanted to stick it to me?
sometimes I actually am binging three, but
Okay.
right now, I just finished a full rewatch of Grey's Anatomy, like from the
Oh wow,
beginning.
that must have taken commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I started it in like over the holidays, I think, and so it
Uh-huh.
took 3 months.
You know what's
Yeah.
funny about Grey's Anatomy? So like, okay, I I did watch some Grey's Anatomy. My old roommate and I used to watch like shows together, and that was one of the ones that she used to watch. So I watched it with her for a little while, but like I never really got like super into it. So to me, Katherine Heigl was always like the girl from Bride of Chucky. And like when I started hearing how like much of a pain in the ass she is to work with and everything, I was like, really? The girl from Bride of Chucky is like trying to say that she's like, all that in a bag of chips. Is Katherine Heigl really as good of an actress or, as like her
She's a
pain in the
great
ass?
actress.
Yes.
I
Okay.
don't believe she is a pain in the ass. I think that was sort of just Hollywood sexism.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
unfortunately.
That
Yeah.
sucks. Because she was good in Bride of Chucky. She was also good in Knocked Up. I saw that.
Yeah, she was
But
great
yeah.
and knocked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway,
Anywho,
so you would recommend Grey's Anatomy and I forgot the name of the other one.
Togetherness.
Togetherness, yeah.
They're both great. Yeah, I mean, neither, well, Grey's has phenomenal moments, and I think Togetherness probably also has phenomenal moments, but I don't know. Yeah, recommended. Both of them,
Okay,
I would say.
sure.
Yeah, especially if you're feeling the feels and you need to like get some emotion out. Like sometimes I have a hard time releasing emotion unless I'm watching something that makes me feel an emotion and then I can like just let it all out.
Sure.
Yeah. You know
All right.
what's interesting? Gosh, I haven't thought about this in years, but in 2013, my parents' house burned down, and it was traumatic.
I can imagine.
and and I went, and it was Easter weekend. It was like Good Friday, Saturday, and then Easter Sunday. And I went home from work early on that Thursday, whatever it was. And I was home Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I moved into the guest room in the attic. And I took my laptop and I took this big Tupperware of granola. And I didn't get out of bed for the whole weekend. And I watched Grey's Anatomy, the particular episodes that I knew were gonna make me little weepy. And I just like cried, cried my
Uh-huh.
eyes out. It was very cathartic. Um, yeah,
So is
yeah.
this
So
like like how like listening to music can take you back to like a certain, point in your life? Does watching
no,
Grey's Anatomy? No? Okay.
no, it doesn't. It
All right.
served its purpose in the moment, but it doesn't remind me of that at all.
Okay.
In fact, this go round, none of the episodes from that period made me cry at all. I was just dicking around on my phone.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, time traveler's wife.
I didn't want to like clap and like have that like thunderclap in the microphone, but I am excited to talk about this. I wanted to
Yeah,
talk about this show like episodes ago, but like Kate couldn't find it anywhere, and now that she
I
found it
had
on
never
Amazon, yeah,
I honestly had not heard about this as a series. I knew
yeah,
that there was a Rachel McAdams movie,
yes, yeah, yeah,
but I didn't know that it was based on the book, and I
right.
had no idea that you were a fan.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, you throw time travel in the mix, I'm down.
anything time travel, right?
Yeah.
So, how help me? Okay, so first, give the
Sure.
people a little information.
Okay. I'm drawing a blank on the author's name, so I'm gonna have to like Google that real quick. Um, Give me a second. Audrey Niffenegger wrote a book, The Time Traveler's Wife, about a couple, um, Henry and help me out. The
Claire,
name Claire.
Claire.
Yes. So Henry is a time traveler, not in the sense that like Doc Brown and Marty are time travelers, where they deliberately get in a car and go somewhere.
Right.
Henry will just like randomly like pop out and like pop into another place, and he has no control over when he's doing it or where he's going or what time period he's going to. So
And
like
they
it can
don't
happen at any
explain
moment. Right.
why he has this ability.
Well, I mean they mentioned that like there's some kind of like disorder in his blood or like whatever.
Oh,
He is chroma
oh,
challenged. I can't remember what they say, but like
okay,
it's something like a physical ailment, and it causes
okay.
him to do this. And so like he meets it's hard to talk about this in like a chronology because older him meets younger Claire, and Claire grows up knowing this guy and eventually comes to know that they're going to get married, and so it's the story of them kind of falling in love and getting married and getting together. And like she would tell you it's her story, hence the time traveler's wife, but I don't know, it's kind of their
Mm-hmm.
story. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
It's very romantic. I don't know if we want to get into like the ending right now, but I think that this was a show that was saved by cancellation, and I think that's something we don't often like. That's not a typical kind of a opinion on a show where like they absolutely had more story to tell. Like the rest of the book is out
For real?
there. Yes, the rest of the book and the rest of the movie are. This was just as faithful to the book as the movie was. So there is a second season there that they were not able to make, and I would argue it's better to end it
Oh,
where they did. Um,
I would agree. I would
yeah.
totally. I had no idea.
So you thought that was a
I thought it was
deliberate like this
perfect.
is the end? Yeah.
I thought it was perfect the way that
Okay.
they ended it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's. I have
Wow.
so much I want to talk about, but let's talk about the ending for just a quick little bit here. So the
Do
end
it.
of the show, um, after Henry, so they try to have a baby after their wedding. The show ends basically with the wedding. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they try to have a baby and it doesn't work out because all of the fetuses time travel out of the womb and die. Um, and so like eventually Henry has a vasectomy so that like he doesn't put her through that anymore. That really takes a toll on her. She's like really upset about that. And then a younger version of Henry, not young, but like like late 20s version of Henry time travels to talk to her about it, and she kind of seduces him, And that's where the show ends. Like she's like, but you didn't get a vasectomy yet. Like um so that leads us into
Wow.
the rest of the book and the rest of the movie. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely did not see that coming. That's
Oh yeah.
incredible.
So okay, so what I would say here is
No,
that
older Henry remembers that. He knows that that's going to happen.
oh yeah, that's true.
What's the point of having a
Yeah.
vasectomy?
I mean, I guess he can't cause her any harm anymore. Junior can. He calls his younger self Junior, but yeah.
All right.
So,
Sorry.
okay.
Okay, go
No, no,
ahead.
go ahead.
What
You
were
were
you
going to
gonna?
ask a question. It's probably better
All right.
before I get into season 2. So,
Okay, so we've my love of Doctor Who is well established,
yeah.
right? I never knew that one of the producers slash writers creators of the Time Traveler's Wife series was also one of the writers producers of Doctor Who, Stephen
Yeah.
Moffat.
Yeah.
I was shocked and delighted to see his name pop up, and I immediately was like, "Oh, I think I'm going to enjoy this." And sure enough, that um the pitter pat language, the dialogue was very much like ba 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 ba.
Mm.
It was very very fun, very engaging, very entertaining. But I noticed that it broke a lot of time travel rules. For instance, you can't interact with yourself, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah. So different shows or different things have different rules because I think like we don't know that time travel is even possible.
Obviously.
So because nobody's done it, we don't know necessarily what the rules are. In something like Back to the Future, you would not want to interact with your younger self because you would change the course of history, whether you intend to or not. It's like a butterfly
Right.
effect. In
Right.
something like The Time Traveler's Wife, which follows kind of the same rule, let's say, as Terminator, where time is a circle. So, like in Lost, they say whatever happened, happened. We've talked in the past about like going back in time and killing Hitler, and how you can't do it because you would then grow up in a world where Hitler was never born or whatever. Or then that's the Back to the Future timeline version. Or in this, like you would go back and you would try to kill him and it wouldn't work. Like because he was
Right.
always alive, and you
Yeah.
would probably cause the very thing that you were trying to avoid. So like you go
Right.
back in time and try to kill Hitler, you fail, and now he looks at like dark-haired people as evil and becomes the person that you were trying to,
Right.
yeah. So the time traveler's wife is actually really good about like maintaining those like time is a circle Terminator rules. Um, One of the things that I love to look for in a movie like this are jinn particles. A jinn particle in time travel theory is an object or an idea that's trapped in a time loop. So, for example, in the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve, an old woman comes up. Yeah,
That's a long,
it
that's
is.
a
I can
deep
give you
cut.
more recent examples, but this is a very clear cut, easy example. In that movie, an old woman comes up to Christopher Reeve, hands him a locket, and says, "Come find me." He then travels back in time, falls in love with a younger version of her, and gives her the locket. So he gives her the locket, who grows up and gives him the locket, who goes back and gives him the locket, who grows up and gives. So the locket is trapped in a time loop, and that's so fun for me to like find. And this show has a bunch of them. Like the very notion that they are going to get married, and they talk about this as like kind of like grooming.
Yeah.
He tells her accidentally, but he tells her we are going to get married one day. He only knows this because an older version of her tells
Tells
him
him.
we're going to get married one day. So he tells her, who tells him, who tells her. So where does this idea exist? Like where
Right.
chronologically does the idea that
Did
they're
it
going to get
start?
married begin? Like the locket, like there is no chronological invention of this locket. It's just it exists because he gives it to her and she gives it to him. Like,
Yeah.
like and it's like John Connor. Like John Connor sends his own father back in time to, fall in love with his mother. But there is no chronological beginning to John Connor because without doing that, he can't do it, so there was stuff like that. The information in the notebook, she makes sure to point out the fact that it's a jinn particle without using that term. But she says, like, I only know these dates because you told me these dates because I guess I told you these dates. These are the dates you're
Right.
going to come back and see me.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. The fact that Gomez and Henry are friends is basically a Jim
Right.
particle. Older him
Yes.
tells them, you guys are going to be best friends. And then younger version of him knows that they're going to be best friends because older version of him tells. So there's no chronological beginning to their friendship, you know?
You're blowing my mind. I
I
feel
know.
like I need to.
Shows like this, just I love blowing my mind with these kinds of
Yeah.
things. um,
Okay. Okay. So the time travel was fucking cool. The
yeah,
story is really, really cool. And I want to give props to like all the writers too, because the characters were so richly drawn. Like her brother is an asshole from start to finish,
yeah, yeah.
right? And her
There's a good
diatribe,
reason for that. Like,
wait,
uh,
let's get to that. We'll get to that. But her diatribe when she brings him home finally to meet her parents and her family, and they're sitting at lunch, and she says something like, God, and Mark, who's grown up to, who is a lawyer, and that didn't make him worse because he's always been terrible. Like the
yeah,
writing was just so perfect and like chef's
yeah,
kiss, it was perfect.
yeah.
So wait, why was that inevitable?
Inevitable. I mean, it's not inevitable. It's there's good reason for it because, like,
That's what I meant.
technically, the brother and the dad kill Henry. And you get that
What?
it's implied. It's implied in season one, but they really wouldn't have gotten to it until season two. This is why I think this is a show that was saved by the fact that we didn't get season two. Because what season two would have been about would have been the daughter was born and Henry, jumps to a time where, all right, without getting super into the details, we can get into this a little bit later in the episode. Season two would have been about the death of Henry, the death of Ingrid, and the daughter being born. So those would have been the
Oh my
three
God.
story arcs that would have gone through the season. And most of that is a downer. Like, even if you look at Alba's
Wow.
birth as being a positive thing, um, she still has to grow up without a dad because Henry is going to
Yeah.
die when she's like 5 years old. So,
And does Alba have the ability to time travel?
yes. So that's how he knows when he's going to die because 10 year he flashes to like see 10-year-old her and she tells him like you died when I was 5. And I guess I don't know, there was supposed to be more to that story. Like the author Audrey Niffenegger, I don't know,
Sure.
mentioned that she was going to write a sequel. She never wound up doing it. She kept saying, "Oh yeah, it's still coming. 2008, 2010, 2012, 2020, 2023. It's definitely coming out." Here we are in 2025. There's no book. I don't know, but
So
there
what
is
was
supposed
the
to be a book about her being a time traveler and maybe even meeting Henry and Claire. I mean, she would know Claire because Claire raised her, but yeah.
yeah. How was the movie with Rachel McAdams
I
and
liked the
I don't
movie.
know.
I watched the movie first. I really liked the movie.
Okay.
And then I read the book after that. Now, I say the dad and the brother kills him because I don't know which one would have in the show. Um, in the book and the movie, it's one of the two of them. So like the book, it might have been the dad. In the movie, it might have been the brother. But it's the same thing.
So
Basically, when they're out on that hunting trip and they shoot something and the blood is in the snow and then that blood is like transferring through time, that was Henry. Like Henry is killed by them when they're on their hunting trip. So
okay, so I don't remember the hunting trip in
in the
the
show.
show,
Yeah, yeah, it was
but
there. Yeah.
there was a moment when he's in his bathroom and suddenly there's this massive pile
Yeah,
of
the blood.
blood in the bathroom
Yeah.
and it's there for a second and then it's gone again and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's me somewhere
So the
bleeding
beauty
out."
of this is that you don't I mean, yes, I know where they went with it and they do imply where that all came from and everything, but you don't need to know
I
why there's the
agree.
2 feet. You don't need to know why there's the blood to get the idea that these are things that are like ominous for Henry. Like Henry knows that
Yeah.
he will one day die and it very much shapes his outlook on life. Like at one point when they're in that dinner party, he says like, "Junior, tell him how we live. Like every day is the last day because we never know when the day of that blood is going to happen. We never know when the day of the feet is going to happen." Now, yes, they could have made season two and told us, but did they need to? No, it's a love story.
No.
It ends with them getting married and maybe having a kid. The hope of
It,
them having a kid, which is what they were definitely driving towards in that first season.
yeah.
Hope. Yeah.
I thought it was like perfect. Like as
Yeah.
a show, as a
Yeah.
beginning to end, it
Yeah.
absolutely didn't need a season two. In fact, I'm thinking of other shows that were, I don't know, limited series, I guess they're called, like The
Yeah.
Gentleman in Moscow. That was a perfect season. Like from point A to point B, it doesn't need a season two. It shouldn't ever have a season two. When I Nine Perfect Strangers is a great example on Hulu. It was a great book. It was an almost perfect season from start to finish. And I just heard that they're doing a season two. And everything that they covered in season one was in the book. There's no need to
Yeah.
do a season two, but they are because it made money or whatever. And I'm a little bummed about it.
Yeah, we did a bonus episode of this show that I don't know, it will probably have aired before this airs. I don't know. We'll
Yeah, I know.
whenever I have time to do it, where we talked about the Mandalorian season 1 and 2
Yeah.
being kind of a complete show right there. We didn't need
Yeah.
season 3. This is the first time where, at least that I'm aware of, where a studio stepped in and was like, "No, you don't need to tell the rest of that story. You're good." Fans, really tried to get behind, getting the show a different, it was HBO when it was first out. They tried to get
Yeah.
it on a different network, but it didn't work out, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
So basically, just to give you, like let's talk about season 2 and what would have happened, just to get it out there.
Okay.
Um, so what happens is at some point, um, Henry flashes to a place that's like a frigid winter, um, and he can't find shelter. So he spends the night in a parking garage and gets hypothermia and frostbite. He gets back to the present, and they have to amputate his feet. Now, for
Oh,
him,
God.
for him, that's a death sentence, because when he pops up in a place and he's naked and he's got to run or steal
Yes.
or whatever to live, he needs his feet. So he knows, like, one of the next couple times I flash somewhere, I'm going to die. We do, first of all, they do imply all of this. Not that they imply how it happens, but you see him in the wheelchair for a couple of the scenes in season 1, and you see him. There's a scene where he talks to young Claire, and he's got his feet in the grass, and he didn't put on the shoes. That's because he didn't have his feet at that point. Like, that's one of his last couple jumps. So his last jump, he goes to that point where his Claire's dad and brother are hunting in the woods. They shoot him, and he disappears. You know, the blood is still there. That eventually disappears too. He flashes back, dies in Claire's arms. Claire spends the rest of her life hoping that, like, a version of Henry will flash and, see her again. And he eventually does when she's 82. So that's how the book ends. I skipped over all the Alba stuff there. They did imply all of this as well, that the pregnancy would work out, because there's a scene in the wedding episode where Henry flashes to a point in the future where he's at his house, and he knows that it's pretty far in the future because the tree is pretty big, and he sees the back door open up, and you don't get to see who it is because probably they didn't cast the actor yet, but there's the silhouette of a young girl running towards him, and then he flashes out before he gets to meet her. So that's them telling you the pregnancy will work out. They're going to have the daughter Alba. Um, and that's what season 2 would have been about, like that. And at some point we would have had to see Ingrid either in the book, she shoots herself in the head. I'm guessing that because when they were talking about it, if you remember, she asks how she does it. In the show, he runs his hand over her the scars that she had cut herself. So I'm guessing that would have been how they changed that to make that a little less dark. Not that it would have been any less dark, but it's less dark than a gunshot to the head. Um, but did we need that? I don't
God.
know. I don't know we
No.
did. I don't think we
It
need any
I
of that, to be honest with
I
you.
wouldn't have liked I don't think I would have enjoyed that show,
Yeah.
that season.
Yeah.
This season was perfect.
Yeah.
Like truly perfection. It was great. It
Yeah.
was sweet, it was funny. They were
What did
just
you
so
think of
watchable.
yeah. When you told me you were going to watch it, I jumped right back in and rewatched it. And the funny thing was, I didn't remember when I rewatched it that it did end like without telling the whole story. But that's why I got to think like, oh yeah, I liked it so much better that it did end where it ended.
Yes.
Um, what did you think? Because I don't think they really get into this in the movie. The whole grooming situation that winds up happening accidentally. Like, he spends his later years hanging out with younger her. And does he mean for this to happen? Not necessarily, but she tells him, like, I wound up shaping my entire like identity and libido around you. Just like he winds up telling her, you think I groomed you, you groomed me. Like, I was this wild, adventurous dude, and then you come along, and now I'm, you know, the responsible guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so he can't control it, but for whatever reason, he during different moments in his life, throughout the course of his whole life, he will flash back to the same period. So, for example, when his mother dies,
Yeah.
there's like 10 versions of himself watching it.
Yeah.
It just he can't help himself. Literally, he doesn't have any control over it. So clearly he's flashing back to child Claire for a reason, right? He needs to watch her grow up. He needs something.
Well, he doesn't. I mean,
It was
so what the way he explained it was like he gets pulled to people that he really cares about, and
right.
or events that mean something to him, which is why he was there for the mom dying. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was definitely difficult for me to imagine them like hooking up when she's 18 and he's 28, I guess. Because then that was the last time, and then for 2 years there's no
I
contact.
think he was a little older than that actually, because 28 would have been junior. So he would have been in his 30s, because that would have
Yeah,
been
I
like
guess
the
you're
the
right.
debonair
No, you're right.
Henry.
The
Yeah.
short hair. You're
Yeah.
right.
So it was
It was
interesting. Like,
weird.
yeah. Um, he tells her, and they never really give like a satisfying answer to this. He tells her it's going to be 2 years until you see me again.
Yes.
It would only have to be 2 years until the point where they know he's going to see him again. Like, so for example, they couldn't have known about the time where old Footless Henry came to visit her. So was that 152, let's say, if she counted 151 times? Like, which also then makes me say, could there have been more times in that 2 year period? Like, there didn't have to be a 2 year gap there, but I guess there was. So,
I didn't understand most of that, but it's
okay.
fine.
So at the point where they write the notebook is
Yeah.
like, 30 something year old Henry. After that point, if he had flashed back to see her, they wouldn't have known about those dates. Like, in that, I mean, he got the information from her, who got the
Oh,
information from him, like whatever. That's why they couldn't have known about the time where he came back with like the no shoes. So, because that would have been
but
old, old, all the way at the end of the timeline, right before he dies, Henry.
but wouldn't little
42.
girl Claire have had the notebook and said this isn't in the notebook?
Yeah. But they don't address that in the show. That's the one
Right.
place where I was like, okay, you maybe made not a mistake, but like, I don't know. That was like the one time where I was like, all right, you didn't respect your own rules per se there. But that's why I was thinking
Yeah.
they could have seen him in that 2 year period. It would have just had to have been a point later than they knew about when they wrote the notebook.
Yeah, but doesn't 20-year-old and beyond Claire maintain and agree that she didn't see him at all for those 2 years?
Yes, yes, but I'm saying it didn't have to
He could
be.
have gone back
Yeah,
further.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, can I tell you the scene that I cannot stop thinking about?
Sure. Yeah.
I wish that I were an adult, but in this moment I'm 12.
Sure.
The scene where Henry's dad walks in on Henry going down on himself.
Yes. Like, I love how he has to defend that like multiple times throughout the series. Like, I was in a very specific, I had a very specific opportunity that most people do not have. Like,
It was so funny.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that anybody in the same situation would not maybe at least consider it. I'm not saying like, everybody would do it, but like when you're 16 and you've got those kinds of hormones, and it's not like he can maintain a normal relationship, at least then anyway. Like,
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
no. It was so
and I
funny.
love how he's so paranoid. He's like, I'm not gay. I'm not gay. And the dad's like, shut up. I don't care if you're gay. There were two of you. Like, yeah.
It was so funny.
And the funny thing
Oh
about
my
it was like
God.
he doesn't believe him when he says he's a time traveler. He's like, Dad, I'm a time traveler. He's like, stop saying crazy things. I'm like, you just saw two of them. Like, does that not make this a little bit more credible?
Oh my God, it was so funny. That scene is going to live rent free in my head for a very long time
I actually, I
because, well, I was okay. I was
yeah,
going to say, as a girl, uh, when you're a teenager dating boys, there is often a lot of pressure to do things. And one of the reasons why is often given, like, I would do it myself. I mean, honestly, can't tell you how many times I've heard if I
wow.
could do it myself, I would. And I just remember various moments in my life thinking, that's not my problem.
And it's not. For all the young girls, and if you're young girls out
It's
there watching this, you should just watch a different show. But like,
right.
like I think of us as an R-rated show. Move on. But like, for all the young girls out there, absolutely, it's not your responsibility. It's not your problem. But yeah.
Why not?
But yes, that was funny.
Anyways,
Actually, while we were talking about this, I didn't think about it before, but I wonder if, speaking of like the periods in his life that he gets pulled to, if young Alba winds up at the hunting ground. Like, if like and if
oh,
there's more than one version of her at the hunting ground. I mean, we would
yeah,
have seen her, so I guess not. But, allegedly this book is coming. I don't know if they're going to call it The Time Traveler's Daughter, but that would be a good title.
it would be.
That's free for you, Audrey. uh, I take no
All right.
copyright claim to that title.
Do you have a scene that lives rent free in your head from
Ooh.
this show?
I mean, it wouldn't be anything. I mean, yes, I'm going to think about that for a long time. But like, I did find the scene where she quote meets his mom adorable, where like he's like, "Listen, I've never listened to the rest of this tape, but I know that she answers an audience
Yes,
question, and like that was a really sweet moment,
it
like to be able
was.
to like ask his mom a question that she asks in the present, in the future,
Yeah,
in the past. You can really go cross-eyed thinking about all this, but she gets to answer it on tape, and it was very sweet.
yeah, I agree. It
That's the
was.
kind of stuff that I love to think about. I love to think about like the little gin particles in the show, like the Notebook, like the notion of them getting married. Just there's no like real chronological beginning to this, which makes you ask, like, is it just flat out destiny that these two people are going to be married to one another? Because otherwise, without the intervention of the time travel, they wouldn't have gotten together. I mean, they did meet at one point organically in the show, but yeah,
So I wonder if that is the starting point. When she's in art school and she goes
to the
to
library.
the library and she meets him, if that is the start.
I guess it would be the start of them meeting. It would be the start of their relationship. But this notion that they were gonna get married was something that he accidentally let slip while they were attacking the rapist, or while they were, I don't know what you would call it. They didn't really attack him I mean, they did attack him. Let's call a spade a spade. They tied him to a tree and everything, and like, they intended to kill him. Um,
Good.
and he lets it slip like she's my wife, even though he's been telling her all her life we're not together in the future.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a classy thing. I don't remember if that's how they played it in the book and the movie. Like I think he might have told her like more deliberately, but I could be wrong about that. It's been a long time since I watched the
Hmm.
movie and read the book, but yeah. So anyway, he lets it slip to her, and then like she waits all of a day. She doesn't even like wait a day. She's like, "Listen, we're getting married." When she finally
Yeah.
meets the younger version of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. So there was so much of this that I wanted to take her by the arms and shake her and just say, your prefrontal cortex is not done. You
Yeah.
have to let it cook some more. You can't make decisions like this as a 20-year-old. It's a bad idea. But,
I mean, he argued and
he
was
did.
proven
He
right
tried.
several times that there is no changing the past. Like
That's
she
true.
attempts in that scene where, they're going on their date or whatever, and
Yeah.
she's going to like make her own decisions, and she sees like, okay, I just made these decisions that, I was saying like I'm not going to do what we were supposed to do. I'm going to make my own thing. And in doing so, she walked right into what he told her was going to happen. So
Yep.
there was no changing it. They were just
Nope.
destined to happen. It was going to happen no matter what. I did find
Yeah.
interesting talking about moments where you wanted to shake her, where she gets in the car and she's like, listen, if we're going to get married, I can't die. So she like hits the pedal to
That
the
was
metal.
awful.
Yeah,
Awful.
and he's like,
Oh,
listen, just because you can't die doesn't mean you couldn't like, kill
kill
somebody else
somebody.
or kill
Yes.
him, because like he was from after their
Yes.
marriage, like, yeah.
Yeah, that
Really
made me really
enjoyable
angry with
show
her.
beginning to end. 6 episodes. I would totally recommend this. I don't know if there's
100%
any other
recommended.
characters you want to talk about. There was Gomez, there was the
Gomez was
girlfriend,
so funny.
yeah, Ingrid, and the other girlfriend, whose name, hold on, I'm looking at the cast list here.
Celeste, maybe?
Yeah, it started with a C or something. It had like a C kind of a name. And she's not on the
Charisse.
Charisse, there it is, Charisse, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
I
it was
loved
interesting that
Gomez.
Gomez was able to like be completely honest with Henry and say like, yeah, I've definitely got the hots for your wife.
I thought it was so funny how Gomez starts off hating him, like
Yeah.
just absolutely hating Henry. And it was oh my gosh. Have you ever heard of a genre of romance novel called enemies to friends, enemies to lovers? It was like
No.
that. There is a whole genre of romance novels called enemies to lovers, and it's where two people meet and immediately hate each other, but then end up together at the
I mean,
end of the
there's so
book.
many shows with that premise anyway, Yeah.
100%, 100%. But Gomez just becomes so adorable. He's so protective of Henry
Yeah.
ultimately. And Henry genuinely loves Gomez back. It's just so
For
adorable.
no other reason than someone in the future told them you were going to be best friends.
Yes.
Like, and that's,
Yes.
and like they're hanging out and they're like, why do I like you again? Why do I like you again?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When Gomez rescues him from the bikers,
Yeah.
it was just so beautiful. It was so
Yeah.
beautifully done. Oh,
I
yeah.
like
It's a
how they
great
get,
show.
because it was a, oh wait, it wasn't a Netflix show. I was going to say because it was a Netflix show, he gives him Netflix as a stop tip. I was going to say, all right, he didn't give it, that's actually not true. It was an HBO show. So like, kudos
That's
to
it.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, because the stock tips included Apple and Netflix, I
Bitcoin. I
think.
saw Bitcoin surgical masks. Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't know that that would have been a great investment. Like, you would have had to wait a long time for that to pay off, and then like if you
Yeah.
didn't sell like right at the beginning of the pandemic, and
Yeah.
was there a brand? I know like the K95 or whatever it was, like where,
I don't
but was that a
know.
brand or was that a type?
It's a type. I
Yeah.
don't think
So
it's a
like I don't
brand.
know that there was
Yeah.
one brand that like shot through the roof. Um,
I don't think so either.
but
Anyway,
he
great
would have
show.
made out like a bandit with like the Bitcoin anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a
I
great
did think it
show.
was adorable that like Gomez was so into the time travel stuff. Like he would be like, "Where'd you go? Oh, I went to the future." Oh yeah, you knew because the air was thinner. He's like, "No, the TV was really huge." Oh man. Yeah.
He was such a great friend. Such a great
Yeah.
character, Gomez. Oh my God.
In the book,
Great
speaking
show.
of like the things I'm going to tell you about season 2 that would have happened,
Yeah.
after Henry dies, Gomez and Claire do have sex once, but she doesn't really get remarried because she's still waiting for Henry, and that's kind of sad. But
Yeah, that's really sad.
um, um, I think Charisse always knows that Gomez has a thing for Claire, but she chooses to just kind of ignore it. So
Oh,
that's,
that's rough.
I know, right? This show was saved by its cancellation in the best
How
way.
I truly don't understand how Charisse and Claire can have a friendship knowing that her husband is into her best friend. I couldn't do it. I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think
I mean,
it's,
people are flawed, like um
yeah, I guess.
people are
But
willing to ignore a lot of things. So as
okay,
long
but
as you
here's
don't believe that it's happening, and that it's just sort of like a idea.
no, here's my thing. We understand why Gomez is special to Henry. I truly do not buy or understand that he is special to Charisse. He's not bringing
Yeah.
anything to the table to Charisse that she couldn't get anywhere else.
He does say that she's one of his best friends, but that could have just been like, I
Yeah,
have friends that like, I'm friends with you. The wife kind of comes with the deal, like,
right, right,
I love you all. It's not necessarily the case with all of them, but like it does
right.
happen. And, you can still consider them your best friends, but
On the other hand, Claire does have sex with them both, ultimately. I mean, she has sex with
yeah.
Gomez and she has sex with Charisse.
So I guess it's we're calling it even.
I guess so. Anyway, it's a great
Yeah.
show.
So any
It
final
was really
thoughts?
highly recommended.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's 6 episodes, so you can knock this out like pretty quickly if you were going to watch it.
Oh my God. I knocked it out on my flight to Florida.
Yeah.
Like it
And
was
if you
super
want to
easy.
check out the thing with Rachel McAdams, maybe get like the whole story, maybe one day they'll write the second and you'll get even more story, by all means,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead. But
now I kind of don't want to watch the movie with Rachel McAdams because I don't want that second part.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, for our
Anyway,
audience out there, our next show is going to be Severance. We're going to be focusing the conversation
yeah.
on season 2, but we never had a conversation about season 1, so we can talk about
No,
that too if we want. Yeah.
it's gonna be lit.
Yeah. So I think we tried to watch. We tried to say that Severance was going to be an episode a couple episodes ago, and we
Yeah.
realized that like there was still some more episodes to go. So now season 2 is done as of the time of recording
Yeah.
this. So
And I loved it and I have read a lot of things about it. And so I cannot wait to talk about it.
cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.